All right, this is the first race of the day on Saturday at the Ferrarone Trophy against Harvard. Bowdoin is in the red, 1, 2, 3. Harvard is in blue, 16, 17, and 18. First thing you can see, the committee boat is pointing to the left. So on the screen, we have current going from the left to the right on the screen. It's pretty early in the day, but here there's definitely a factor on Saturday. So start is beginning. Looks like we had one boat over early. But we're pretty quickly back in phase here. You know, a lot of these first few beats were like pretty fleet racing oriented. You got to sail the shifts. You got to make your boat handling really aggressive, and that kind of made huge gains. There's a ton of fleet racing right away to keep you in the race. We can see here we don't really have two pairs. It's pretty indecisive right now. It looks like the Harvard team has two pairs here. They may even have three pairs depending upon how boat one is doing on the left of the screen. But again, the fleet race stuff is pretty important. We can kind of see you know, Harvard now, they look like they're almost having three pairs here. Aaron's pushing across from the left of the screen. You can see the Harvard team is slowing one here, so they're trying to balance. They're trying to allow, the blue team is trying to slow down boat one so that boat 18 can cross them. They don't quite get all the way across, so they probably needed to balance a little bit harder. But you can see how 17 was trying to balance there. Again, in this current, being up current and with the starboard advantage was hugely important. So here 16 and 17 are in the lead, but they get a little bit down current from the mark, and that allows us to kind of get right back into the game here. Harvard rounds in the 1, they potentially hit the mark there, and boat 2, which was the last place boat for us, is able to get a pretty good hook here and keep the polar bears in the race. Boat 17 is having to spin. We round the mark in the 1 here, and I mean, kind of watch it unfold a little bit. So right here it looks like we're like 156 or maybe even 146. You know, I think the big thing is a 156 is a totally playable combination if you're rounding kind of bow to stern with the boats in front of you, and when you're boat 5 and 6, all you're trying to do is to really limit the distance between yourself and the boats you're trying to chase down. I mean, I think the other thing here is with the current moving left to right on the screen, it's easy to kind of get too low on these reaches, and it's easy to kind of get past that way. So kind of staying a little high on the reach is pretty important here. So again, you see the two Harvard boats, they have a teammate that's low and a little bit vulnerable, so they're potentially slowing down a little bit to allow them to kind of remain in at least the 3 spot. So these are clearly conditions on the run. It's really hard to consider going to wing. The Harvard team is just trying to push us around the race course here. They have a 2, 3, 4. For our guys, I think we want to make sure we're just, you know, again, minimizing the distance between ourselves and the leaders. We see boat 1 go to wing here, and it's pretty slow. And they rounded like right behind our boat 2, but now they're just kind of dead in the water. And if you just miss one little puff when it's really windy out, you're just giving away tons and tons of boat length. So, you know, when you're in the 5-6, your job is to sail your boat fast enough so that there's no distance between yourselves and the leaders. And the further behind you put yourself, the more work your teammates are going to have to do to kind of get you back in the race here. So we can see how boat 1 kind of gives away a little bit of distance there with the rest of the fleet, and we're kind of having a hard time catching back up. As we get down the run, the race actually gets way more consolidated. You can kind of see these fan puffs coming down from the pier here. It was pretty easy to kind of see these puffs from land at least. You can see the current on that no wake buoy. It's ripping pretty good left to right on the screen here. So we're about to round Mark 3. Our first place boat is just trying to bump and run. The Harvard guys are just trying to force us to round, which looks like they are doing now. Yeah, I think the big thing too is you got to make your boat handling as aggressive as possible in this stuff. So even though you're team racing, the boat handling has to be really, really sharp. Almost even because you're team racing, it has to be really sharp. So here we're 1-5-6 with a pretty good gap between the 5-6. You know, if we get boat 2, our boat 2 into the 4, then we're back into a play 4. But right now we're still very much in a chase mode. Pretty long second reach, just kind of heading directly into the current. So these final beats were really short, so it was important that you kind of went to work extremely quickly around the mark. So you kind of see Harvard guys first repair tacks, and they immediately kind of go into a split on our first place boat. So in the 1 there, you know, you ideally want to keep the 1, but you know it's going to be hard if they split on you in pretty shifty conditions. So here we didn't stay with anybody. So boat 3 needed to either stay with 16 or 18. We kind of let them go a little bit. Maybe there was a good reason for that because there was a different shift kind of coming down the race course. But we pretty quickly give up. I think we lose the 1 somewhat quickly here. See where it ends up. Harvard guys are picking up the pairs on the final beat, trying to keep things pretty balanced coming up the race course. And 16 here looks like they're able to kind of get pretty close to the 1 soon. So as soon as we kind of see that we're imbalanced here, we may have another shot, but because we couldn't imbalance earlier enough on the beat, and on our first plate boat kind of just got a little way too loose on their coverage, the Harvard guys are able to sail around us relatively easily. So we need to, I think,